welcome back everybody to the first season of the multi-class season 1. We are at the great track of the Nurburgring, and we are in qualifying for the GT4 class, and right now we are spectating Jamie Shaw in the Alpine, which is probably one of the most popular cars chosen on this particular occasion and in this championship as well. It is a 6-race championship consisting of 6 different tracks, which are Nurburgring, Spa, Silverstone, Imola, Zolder, and Brands Hatch. So going to be a lot of different variety, a lot of fun, and hopefully you all stick around for the season. But let's have a look at how Jamie Shaw is doing and his personal best as... Oh, actually, no. The first person who's going to start their lap is going to be Nikolai Polakov in the Maserati, which is, well, not a car that is too popular in the GT4 community, but nevertheless, Nikolai Polakov, one of the best drivers, one of the best GT4 drivers that I know, taking it on the Nurburgring as we can go on board for this first lap and see how he does. A very interesting interior with a bright orange dashboard right there to greet you as he takes these corners nice and slowly. Still a little bit of oversteer with the Maserati. Behind him is the number 86. Wait, is that the number 86 of Kermit, of Tom Bartels? Yes, it is. A big moment there for the first lap. That's going to cost him quite a bit of time for sure. As now he comes through the Michael Schumacher S. A lot of lifting, maybe even a little bit of braking, but still keeping it nicely on the track. A little bit of gravel action over there as he comes towards the next corner. Braking just before the 100-meter board. And did seem a little bit too early as he had way too much runoff. A lot of oversteer still as he tries to muster his way around towards the final sector, which only lasts for about 20 seconds since it's only really that chicane right in front and the final corner, as we'll see how he does the final chicane. Very good line, bouncing straight over it. Hopefully he kept it valid and on the track, as we'll see now. Yes, it is valid. And towards the final corner, a lot of sideways action there. And he's going to come across the line. A good time around this track is about a 2:04. He sets a 2:05.4 as his first lap. Tom Bartels 2:07.2 in the Alpine. Vladimir Dulepov in the McLaren setting a 2:06.3. Now third, Lucas Van Dam in the BMW. No, that's the Alpine. Setting a 2:06.9. Samuel Paterni in the Ginetta setting a 2:06.0 in second place. And Jamie Shaw right now in fourth as Marco Basselt 2:04.8 in the Camaro. A great sounding car, an absolute beast down the straight. The V8 given a lot of top speed. And definitely one of my favorite cars on this grid in terms of sound. The Maserati also sounds absolutely amazing. Just hear it revving. Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. Lewis de Witt at 2:05.9 puts him up into third place in the Alpine. Well, we're going to be saying that quite a lot. Thomas Wunder, second place in the Audi GT4, out of all the cars that we expected to be on the front row. Audi is definitely not one of them, but Thomas Wunder doing wonders. as he sets a 2:05.422, only 0.02 of a second quicker than Nikolai Polakov, who currently is going half a second quicker, and this is definitely going to be good enough for a first row. Is it going to be good enough to beat Marco Basselt? But Marco Basselt himself is improving by 0.3 of a second. He's going to try and get into the mid 2:04s as Nikolai Polakov. Definitely a lot of time to be made up in the final corner. Yes, he does. 0.7, 0.8 as he comes across the line. This will be provisional pole for now. 2:04.5. Marco Basselt. Well, he's going to try and snatch that away from him as he's going 0.3 quicker than his last lap. Nikolai Polakov improving in the first corner. He's going a 10th up, and he is going purple in one of his final laps in this qualifying session. If you don't know, then it is... Why is there somebody out in the GT3? Is there somebody out in the GT3? No, there isn't. Okay, I was just... Okay, good. For some reason I thought there was somebody out in the GT3. I'm wrong. Marco Basselt sets the 2:04.5, only 0.02 of a second quicker than Nikolai Polakov, and that is one hell of a lap by Marco Basselt. I forgot to change back to blank. Thomas Wunder, 0.2 up. It's not going to be enough to get him onto the front row again, but it is going to be reinforcing that second row, that third place start in the GT4 class. 16 GT4s out on the track right now. Thomas Wunder improves his time at 2:05.18. A good lap by the world citizen. That's the world flag, I think. So, a world citizen. Next person to come across the line will be Nikolai Polakov, who is battling tooth and nail with Marco Basselt, quite literally over here, as they're trading purple sectors. Nikolai Polakov was going a 10th quicker, and now it is Marco Basselt going a 10th quicker as, Nikolai Polakov invalidating his lap, and he's only going to have one more attempt at getting that pole position. Tom Bartel's currently down in 13th place in the Alpine, or as he likes to call it, the Nugget. As it does look a little bit like a Nugget. It is very compact, and it's an interesting structure of a car, for sure. It's very, very interesting. And Marco Basselt sets another fastest lap at 2:04.441. As soon the GT3s will be let out, and hopefully they won't be distracting or disrupting too many of the GT4s, as the final GT4s to come across the line are doing that right now. Sepe Lagoon, does he improve on his lap? Yes, he does, a 2:07.295. Unfortunately, it's not enough to get him ahead of Tom Bartels, as I think this is going to be one of the final GT4s to come across the line. Thomas Wunder not improving, but he does have that one extra lap to go in this qualifying session, as the GT3s, are they going to be exiting the pits now? As Georgis Groot, it is he going to miss out? I think he is. That is it for his qualifying session. And he's going to have to return back to the pits. And unfortunately for him, the only lap he could set puts him down into 15th place. Nikolai Polakov not able to improve. Looks like he just destroyed his tires. And he is a 10th down on his lap. Marco Basselt also not improving. As we can now tell, GT3s now allowed onto the track. And Nikolai Polakov, unfortunately, back to pit. There we go. Tell everybody that, so then they know that they should be returning back to the pits. As Paterni not improving on his lap. Marco Basselt also not improving. Tom Young, is it going to be enough? He only needs 4/10. And unfortunately, it's not going to be enough for him. Bjorn Rien, the final of the GT4s in the Ginetta. And by the way, we are using the BOP for the GT4s as well. So he got a plus 12 kilograms of ballast. And he is going to try and get himself up onto 9th place. He only needs about 1/100th of a second in order to get onto P9. And he does. P9 for Bjorn Rien ahead of Samuel Paterni. And that is going to be it for his qualifying session. I hope he returns back to the pits. And yes, he does. Everybody back to the pits. Good stuff. Right. These are the GT4s. Where are the first of the GT3s to start a lap? Eric Giselle is going to be one of the first people to start a lap. As he comes through the first corner. And we'll see how the GT3s are going to be able to do on this track. A good lap with the BOP, which is only 2 kilograms. For the Porsche. Should be around a 53, a mid 53. And we can just ride on board with the German driving for Visceral Esports as he tries to muster his way around and get onto that pole position. As it is a valid lap. That is what we like to see. Eric Giselle into the final sector now. A very difficult sector to master, as there is a lot of time to be gained if you completely cut these chicanes, which Eric taking the safer route through them, not yeeting the car as much as some others do. A big snap of oversteer there as he comes across the line now, and I don't think this is going to be his best lap ever. 54.7 is the benchmark for the rest, as next people come through now. Henry Marr, 57.6 in the McLaren. Dries Verhulst to 54.9, only 2/10 away from Eric Giselle. Eduardo Perez setting a 57.8. Claudio Passo EOS, 57.0. Abe Santoma setting the quickest lap so far, 53.3. Dave Van Eyck, 55.6. Bas Telneckers. Oh my god, there's so many people. That's in the same at the same exact time. It's really hard to read them all out. Bas Telneckers at 55.9. Julian Metzner at 55.917. The same exact time between P5 and P6. Anatoly Sepegin at 56.0. Charlie Kent in the Audi setting a 56.3. Gleb Kalibabulin a 56.5, Snell Snacker, a 57, or Schnell Snacker, I should probably say, Schnell Snacker, 57.02, Andrea Morginella, a 200.4, and Roberto Santoro, a 203.3. All the people that have set a lap so far in this session. As more people are gonna be setting their laps. A bunch of people just not able to do a valid first lap, which is understandable with these conditions. As Henry Marr going 4/10 quicker in his McLaren. And these 4/10 are crucial as he tries to reduce the gap between him and Claudio for P11. And mostly this race is just going to be dodging GT4s without killing your race and their race, as Henry Marr does go a lot quicker there. 57.055 right behind Claudio, as Claudio goes to 54.6 straight up into P2 onto the second row behind Abe Santama. And Ethan Reed also able to set a valid lap at 56.260, another exact time as Oscar Pratt, who set his lap just a little bit after Ethan Reed, so he's going to have to start in 13th if this is how it stands. Now, between Bas Telnekas and Julian Metzner, it is still the same exact time. And Bas Telnekas winning out on that one. Abe, of course, at the top. Of course he is at the top. Who else would be at the top if not him? Dylan Allen. Up into P12 at 56.182. In the Ferrari. A great livery there. The CRF. What seems to be the South African Kielami livery. Or I'm not going to assume it's Kielami, but just the South African flag on the back. Actually, I think I did see him say something about this livery. Let's read into it a little bit. A special livery dedicated to South African Springboks win. There we go. Not Kielami. It is the South African special for Dylan Allen. As Claudio Passo EOS go in a second quicker as he tries to close the gap to edge a little bit closer to Abe Santama. I don't think anybody's going to be able to stop him, but only 3/10 away from Abe Santama. As he sets a 53.640. These two are in a world of their own. Nobody else is really able to get much closer to them. As Anatoly Sapegin goes at 55.455, goes up into 7th place. Abe Santama not able to improve that last lap, and he's only got one more lap to go to secure that pole position, as Claudio Passo is improving, and he might get another lap depending on how well this one goes. So Abe might be in a heap of trouble, especially if he invalidates this lap, because then everything will be gone. Or at least this run will be gone, which then will... yeah, you know what I mean. Dries Verhulst going 5/10 quicker. Julian Metzner comes across the line, and he stays in 11th place at 55.660. It's the best that he can do for now. He's got one more lap to try and improve on that. Claudio Passo invalidating his lap. But he might get one more shot at it if he gets to line in the next 30 seconds. No pressure. Definitely no time pressure there at all. Bas Telnekas trying to go a second quicker. He's even got the slipstream down towards the chicane from Eduardo Perez. As he comes through it, that is a valid line. Now it's invalid. Oh, and that is huge, huge shame for Bas Telnekas. But will he be able to start another flying lap is the big question for everybody watching. As he comes across the line. Yes, just in time. He comes across the line to start another flying lap. Eric Giselle going a whole 1.2 seconds quicker and trying to get onto the front row ahead of Claudio Passo, as Abe Santama sets a 53.260. And Eric Giselle goes ahead of Claudio Passo by a whole 10th. A 53.520 for the German in the Porsche. Claudio Passo not able to improve for now, and it looks like he might have just worn those tires out too much. As he's just not able to improve. He does have enough time to try and get this lap improve just in case he does have any time in the final sector. Currently 3/10 off his personal best. So he's going to have to really push it in the final 1.5 sectors here if he wants a shot at the front row, sorry, ahead of Eric Giselle. And it does not seem like that is going to happen. 4/10 down on his time as he comes through the final chicane now. A lot of commitment still as he goes through the final corner, and I just don't see any way that he can get back onto the front row. And unfortunately for Claudio Passo, that is going to be the harsh reality, and he stays in 3rd place. Meanwhile, Bastel Neckes, we saw him invalidate his last lap, now improving and up into 8th place at 55.205 ahead of is it Andrei Sapegin? We're going to learn these names as we go along. Anatoly Sapegin. And that is your grid for today's race. Well, who would have expected? Abe Santama takes... Oh, okay, that's... Yeah, there we go. Abe Santama takes pole position ahead of Eric Giselle and Claudio Passo. Then comes Dries Verhulst on the 2nd row. Gleb Kabibulin, I think that's how you say it. In 5th place with a 54.7 ahead of Roberto Santoro and Charlie Kent in 7th place. Then comes Bastel Neckes, a good improvement in the final stage of his qualifying session. Then comes Anatoly Sapegin. Are they driving for the same team? Highly likely. Dave Van Eck starts in 10th place. Then comes Julian Metzner and Eduardo Perez. Dylan Allen. I want to click on Dylan Allen. Oh, did Dylan Allen disconnect? Oh, it looks like he did. Ethan Reed then starts in 13th place, and Oscar Pratt in 14th. Schnell Schnacker in 15th place, and Henry Marr in 16th. And Andrea Morganella is not last, as the last GT4 is starting in 33rd place. Not able to set a single lap time. I don't even think he exited the pits for any of the qualifying sessions, so he is going to be starting behind the GT4s, which is, well, definitely not ideal, as we can go onto the GT4 grid with Marco Basselt taking the opening race pole position in the GT4 class ahead of Nikolai Polakov in the Maserati. And then comes Alexander Doncic and Tamas Wunder. A very, very diverse top 5 over here. Well, okay, I was going to say 5 different cars. Tom Young kind of ruining it there for us. As he is also driving in the Camaro. The Camaro, a beautiful car. Beautiful car. Love how it sounds. We will be enjoying it for the full 45 minutes of this race. Then comes Vladimir Dulepov in 23rd place, and Louis De Witt in 24th. Declan Bowler in 25th. Actually, no, you know what? We're not doing them any justice. What? Ah, there we go. I think that's how you do it. I'm just trying to figure this out. Nope, okay. That's not how you do it. Never mind. Or can I do it here? I just want the GT4s. I don't want everybody. I want just the GT4s. Because I want to actually read them out with their position and everything proper. Oh, is it this one? No, you know what? We'll figure it out for next time. Declan Bowler in 25th. Then comes Bjorn Rien in 26th. And Samuel Paterni in the Ginetta. Great car. In 27th place. Jamie Shaw in 28th. And Lucas Van Dam in 29th. Tom Bartels in 30th place. Something tells me that reminds me of a fan company. I forgot what it's called. That brown color and that cream color. It reminds me of a fan company. I'm going to have to ask him later. In 30th place. Then comes Seppi Lagoon in 31st. Very eye-catching Vodafone McLaren livery. I think this is the F1 McLaren livery back in the 2010s. And then comes Georgie Scroot in 32nd. And the final two GT4s are starting last, as I think Dylan Allen actually had a disconnect. And we are now gonna be ready to roll with Abe Santama leading the way. And if you are enjoying this event or this qualifying session, which we only had the qualifying session, then do drop a like and obviously subscribe to the channel, as we're trying to hit 700 by the end of the year. Hopefully 750. That would be absolutely amazing. And we finally get going for the formation lap, and we can just go on to Helicam and enjoy the people flowing through. As now, still not back. No, still not back to the front. Abe Santama, he knows how to lead a race. He's done this countless amount of times in this league alone, and he's done it many, many, many more times in places like AOR. Not AOR. Places like LFM. And actually, no, AOR he's done it as well. And other many, many races. You know, this man, he is part of a professional team for a reason. As now they line up side by side for what will be hopefully a good 45 minutes. Hopefully no first lap crashes, hopefully no first corner crashes, and hopefully no GT4 murders. We see that way too often. As he comes now through the final corner. Eric Giselle, his good friend, side by side with him, fighting for the lead of the race, and the green flags are waved and they are off. And Abe Santoma gets an equally good start as Eric Giselle. Eric Giselle, though, not having that acceleration as he now tries to go around the outside. And is there going to be murder in the back? Well, I really hope not, as we don't see any murder in the back. Do we? I think we do. I'm trying to see what's going on. Dries Verhaal's going for a big dive there on Kabubelin as he goes back up into 4th place. And we'll see in the background, oh, what's happened to Ethan Reed? And Lagoon as well. He's got a lot of damage on his car. There is Scrut as well. And Tom Bartels in the back. The CRF car of Dylan Allen not doing too great, and it looks like Marginella has had a horrible start as he's now with the GT4 pack, and he's going to have to get through them all. In the background, Ethan Reed is the final person. Is he the final person? No, it's Henry Marr, who has somehow found himself in last place and with a lot of damage on his car, and he is definitely going to be not pleased with that start. Nikolai Polakov, though, having a great getaway. He's up into 1st place in the GT4 split, ahead of Marco Basselt, and by quite some margin, as he's got people behind him who are overtaking him, and that is going to be increasing that gap, as Bastelnek is now the next person to try and overtake Nikolai Polakov. He's got a lot of damage on his car, and that is definitely a first lap collision. But things should equal out in the pit stop. In the pit stops, even if he decides to come in now. Charlie Ken up into 6th place from 7th, as he's now got Julian Metzner right behind him. He is nearly touching him as they come towards the 1st corner. He's going to pull off to the inside, and is he going to get the Audi driver? He kind of went for a move, but not really. And he stays behind in 7th place with Roberto Santoro for EOS. Staying suit as well. Staying put, I think that's how you say it. That was, ooh, going for the inside yet again. Just trying to make Charlie Kent, force Charlie Kent to make a mistake of some sort, as the number 111, I think that's Schnacker, or a Snacker. I have still no clue how to pronounce his name. Colliding with Oscar Pratt and moving down to 13th place, and Nikolai Polakov right in front. Quite a lot of action going on as what's happened. Julian Metzner and Roberto Santoro coming together. Not a big one, I don't think, as Julian Metzner goes for the inside on Dave Van Eyck into Dunlop curve, and that is one hell of a move by Julian Metzner. A great move indeed, as Roberto Santoro now through the Michael Schumacher S's, trying desperately to get the positions back that he lost after coming together with Julian Metzner. I'm not sure what happened. Dave Van Eyck, though, not giving up that position too easily to Julian Metzner, as he does have the slipstream and the Ferrari arguably better down the straight than the McLaren. Pretty much any car is better than the McLaren down the straight. As, oh, Julian Metzner, a huge mistake as he goes off into the grass, thankfully keeping it under control, and Roberto Santoro is bound to get that position away from Julian Metzner. No, they're going to be going side by side into the first corner, and this is going to be a very, very interesting fight, as Roberto Santoro is not going to leave a lot of room for Julian Metzner, I don't think, as he goes on the inside and gets that position. Julian Metzner, though, trying to go for the switchback, standing not enough speed in the McLaren in order to go for the switchback. Eduardo Perez now also hungry for position, as he has shown his front in Julian Metzner's rear view mirror. We can cut back to the front. It is Eric Giselle versus Abe Santoma for the lead of the GT3 class. as Eric Giselle currently holding the fastest lap of the race, only by about 1/100th of a second, but still those hundreds really do add up over the course of 45 minutes. Remember, these guys will have to pit at least one time for a mandatory refuel, as Abe Santima now already finding himself in a bit of traffic as they come around to lap their first GT4 car. And Claudio Passo also not really falling back too much from the group ahead, only about 1.4 seconds away, as he also tries to maintain the gap between him and Eric Giselle, and also staying away from Dries Verhulst down in P4. As what's happened to Marco Basselt? Losing a lot of positions as Ethan Reed has come through. So did Dylan Allens and Aidan Furby, so that looks like it's really disturbed the GT4 battle. As Marco Basselt was actively fighting for P1 with Nikolai Polakov, now finds himself nearly 2 seconds away from Nikolai Polakov, and Nikolai Polakov trying to let all of the GT3s through, and that is going to be very, very sketchy as I think that's Aidan Furby trying to get past Nikolai Polakov, and Aidan Furby finding himself off the track as Nikolai Polakov not wanting to lose much time in letting Aidan Furby by, and because of that, wow, Aidan Furby is off the track, and I don't think there's going to be any good coming from the next lapping when Aidan Polakov, Aidan Furby finds Nikolai Polakov yet again. Julian Metzner still fighting with Dave Van Eyck, as Dave Van Eyck did somehow get past Julian Metzner. We did not see that one happen, but it did happen for sure, as Julian Metzner is now down in P9, and Roberto Santoro is up into P7, though down one position from where he started in qualifying. He started in P6, now in P7, as in the background we saw, I think that was Eduardo Perez, just going a little bit sideways, as the track temperatures 24:30, no rain expected. And Abe Santima now starting to feel a little bit more comfortable, dropping Eric Giselle by about 2/10 that last lap, setting the fastest lap of the race as well, at 53.770, and he's, well, pretty much set himself up to go win this race as well, as Dave Van Eyck trying to go for a move. It is Ferrari on Ferrari, but Dave Van Eyck cannot afford to lose much time to Julian Metzner behind by fighting with Roberto Santoro, so he's going to have to pick his battles if he wants to defend or if he wants to attack, because both are going to lose time. But if he does both, it's going to lose him even more time, as Julian Metzner not wanting to stay behind Dave Van Eyck's dirty air for much longer. He's still fighting for his life to get back up into P8. And is there anything happening down in the GT4 front? Nikolai Polakov not too far ahead of Marco Basselt, actually, even considering the fact that Marco Basselt did get into a big squabble with the GT3s. It doesn't seem like Nikolai Polakov has been able to drop Marco Basselt as much as some would think. Julian Metzner now down the straight, and again, even in the slipstream, the McLaren not able to catch as much. And he's going to have to wait until the next straight to try and gain at least a tenth or two to overtake Dave Van Eyck, as Eduardo Perez has lost quite a bit of time to the back of them, and Dave Van Eyck also not able to catch too much to the back of Roberto Santoro. So now it's full defense mode for Dave Van Eyck to keep P8 ahead of Julian Metzner. Marco Basel now yet again in a bit of a battle, and here comes Aiden Furby. Remember last time, Aiden Furby tried to lap Nikolai Polakov. He found himself off the track. Now, Aiden Furby, does he still have bad blood with Nikolai Polakov, or is everything settled? We'll find out in a second as Aiden Furby... Oh, that is not nice. I think he did try to force Nikolai Polakov. They did make contact as well. He tried to force him off the track. Did Aiden Furby, and I don't know how the stewards will feel about that, but nevertheless. Nikolai Polakov still ahead and still leading this race in the Maserati. Two of the best sounding cars in the top two. Absolutely amazing. Thomas Vander, by the way, we didn't talk about him too much. He's made himself up, he's made up a couple of positions, and he's up into P3 in the Audi. Great sounding car as well, the V10. Absolutely majestic in that GT4. Unfortunately for him, he is 10 seconds away from Marco Basel, but he does have a pretty good gap to Tom Young behind in the Camaro. Just listen to that V8 roar down the straight. As Bjorn Rien in the broken Ginetta behind Luke de Witt for P24. As a couple of people already clearing their mandatory pit stops, them being Paterni, Declan Bowler, and Amar. Also now it's going to be Lagoon, who's still in the pits. And now exiting that pit. So already covered his mandatory pit stop, and will not have to do any more. It's actually, can we show that they've got mandatory pit stops? Yes, we can. There we go. Oh, no, okay. It's a bit stupid because Henry Marr has already set a pit stop and... Okay. It's a bit stupid, this thing. It's okay, we can deal with it. Bjorn Rien, 2/10 away. The Ginetta, not really known for having top speed. Now, gonna try and overtake him down the straight. I think this car maxes out at like 140 miles per hour or something really slow. But Bjorn Rien now down the straight behind Luke de Witt. And as you can see, he's not gaining at all. But on the brakes, Luke de Witt going to the inside. Very, very defensive moves from him. As now Bjorn Rien rounding outside onto the inside for the next corner. Not going to be able to take that position back. Or not back. Not going to be able to get that position at all from Luke de Witt. Good racing by these two. And I'm going to remove this mandatory pit stop thing. Because, frankly, it is not going to be... truth. As Dries Verhulst now into the pits for his mandatory pit stop. It is a 25-second mandatory pit stop with refuel. So nearly everybody will be spending exactly 25 seconds in the pits, unless they change for tyres, which I don't think many people will do since it's a 45-minute race. Quali in the chat saying hello, nerds. Well, everybody should be quite offended by that. And Dries Verhulst, I think he did decide to go for tyres and for repairs, because a 33.8 second pit stop is about 8 seconds or more than the standard, so yeah, definitely. Oh, there's an off moment for Jamie Shaw. Running pretty well ahead of Tom Barnes as now he rejoins the track, and he's now going to be in this battle with Bjorn Rien and Luke de Witt, thankfully rejoining the track in a good manner and not really disturbing their battle. But now he's going to be disturbing their battle as he's going to try and get those positions back. Lucas Van Dam back into the pits. As is the board knocked over? Is it knocked over? It looks like it's knocked over. Yeah, somebody must have done that. I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but nevertheless, it might confuse some people. Bjorn Rien, 3/10 away in the Ginetta. A beautiful car. Definitely no bias from the British commentator right here. Trying to get past Lucas de Witt, or Lewis de Witt. I keep on calling him Luke de Witt. It's Lewis de Witt as, oh, big collision as he got lapped and he got absolutely sandwiched by both the GT3s. Let's have a look at the replay. I don't know what happened there, but that looked horrible. It looked like one of the Porsches. There we go, Eric Giselle trying to lap Bjorn Rien as these guys are having a battle. Abe and Eric are having a battle. Bjorn Rien, yeah, unfortunate for him, and nothing that Eric or Bjorn could have done. And Eric, so unfortunate for him how his race unfolds. As Eric now down into P4 and he's got damage on his car. And Bjorn Rien also into the pits after getting smacked about. Well, Abe Santman now leading the race in a good manner. A whole 3 seconds ahead of Claudio Passo. As Claudio Passo obviously did close that gap last lap, but only due to the big collision with the GT4. And I think Abe did predict that before the race, that he would be colliding with some of the GT4s, and you know, it is bound to happen. Any sort of event, any sort of multi-class event, there's gonna be some action between the classes, as Abe now having to overtake Dulepov. I think that's Vladimir Dulepov. And Dylan Allen into the pits. His broken... Has he got a puncture? His car is limping down the pit lane. As a lot of people are going to be on completely different strategies. Since it doesn't really matter when you pit. It's a 45-minute race. You're not really going to be using your tires too much. I mean, you're not going to be bursting them, that's for sure. As a lot of people are opting in to either repair the car or put in some new tires, because very, very much longer than the standard 25 seconds. And Nikolai Polakov, our race leader in the GT4s, into the pits. He does have a little bit of damage, I think, from some battles with Aidan Furby, but he shouldn't have too much, and he should be out of the pits pronto. As Jamie Shaw now catching the back of Lewis de Witt. Dylan here 54 seconds of damage. Thank you to the Porsche in turn 1. The Porsche GT4 in turn 1. Wow. Very unfortunate stuff. And it was bound to happen, I think. In multi-class races, there has to be a mutual relationship between the two classes. You know, the GT3s give space to the GT4s when they're fighting, and the GT4s have to also be a bit more mindful of the really fast cars coming up behind. Now, talking about that, we will be participating in an iRacing event as well, where we have the GT3s and the LMDHs, which are like the new LMP cars. And yeah, I mean, you know, pray for me, because it's going to be very, very difficult to not die, I think, to the LMDH cars. Yes, Bjorn Rehn now 2/10 away from Sepe Lagoon. And also Henry Marr going to the inside to overtake them actually. As Bjorn Rehn absolutely barging into the side of the Porsche of Sepe Lagoon. And Sepe Lagoon having his own race unfold. He's got a ton of damage on his car, and I'm pretty sure we saw this car off, so it could be the car that Dylan Allen was talking about previously. And we can see how long Nikolai Polakov spent in the pits, and it looks like he did have quite a bit of damage and decided to go for tires because of that as well. I think everybody's going to have damage today. That is crazy. As now Tom Young and Lewis David coming into the pits. So is Gleb Kabibulin. Maybe that's how you say it. Who knows? And so is Bas Tilnekas, all coming into the pits. Ethan Reed still yet to come into the pits. Pretty much everybody in the top 10 is yet to come into the pits. Oh, there we go. Another one of those pops that we usually get on stream. We'll see, where does Nikolai Polakov come out where will he be relative to Marco Basilet when Marco comes into the pits, and how long will Marco's pit be, since he also did have some adventures with the GT3s. I suspect that he might go for tires just to react to Nikolai Polakov in case that he knows. Here comes Marco Basilet now into the pits, and the last thing that he needs right now is a stop-go penalty. Does anybody have a stop-go penalty? No, they don't, which is good news. And only 2 retirements, so good stuff. And Vladimir Telepov also into the pit, so is Tom Bartels. And the only people in front of Nikolai Polakov who are yet to come into the pits are Jamie Shaw and Alexander Doncic. So, Marco Basilet, how long will this pit take? As now everybody is coming into the pits, except for Abe Santoma, Charlie Kent, Roberto Santora, and Julian Metzner. As here is Marco Basilet, and here is Nikolai Polakov. And Marco Basilet now is released. Nikolai Polakov down the straight. This is going to be a very, very close pit exit. No, it's not. Marco Basilet able to exit out of the pits. And that is what happens when you pit for 5 seconds more. You lose the positions. So, Nikolai Polakov, brand new tires, brand new car pretty much. 20 minutes to go, 4 seconds to gain. Can he do it? His fastest lap at 2:04.8. Marco's fastest lap at 2:04. Oh no, actually, Nikolai's last lap was a 204.8. Marco's fastest lap to 204.5. Nikolai's fastest lap at 204.5 as well, though 700s slower. So it is going to be very, very close between these two. Marco is going to be on colder tires right now, so he's going to have to warm them up for a couple of laps, as now Oscar Pratt and Ethan Reed getting into a little bit of a battle, as both of them yet to come into the pits. And, well, they'll be doing so relatively soon. I think Abe is leaving it out until the final lap, as he's having a little bit of a battle with the Janetta in the back, and Charlie Kent also yet to come into the pits, but I don't think he will also until the end of the race, as most people should just not come into the pits until the end of the race. And Ethan Reed now promoted into P3. Started in 13th. Had that horrible crash at the start. And now into P3. Well, obviously not pitted yet. But so hasn't Charlie Kent. And he's running in P2. And he was running in a pretty decent position before that as well. How is the rest of the grid shaping up? Nikolai Polakov, 204.5 last lap. Marco Baselet, obviously not yet set a proper lap on his new post pit stop car, but he will soon, as Oscar Pratt now into the pits. Oh, actually out of the pits, there you go, in P12. And that is approximately where we're going to see Ethan Reed come out as well, I think, as Abe comes into the pits for his pit stop. Scheduled pit stop, that is. And so does Charlie Kent. So is this a sign to Ethan Reed that he should come into the pits? Most likely yes. Absolutely yes. Because I do not think that he's going to be leading a single lap. There we go. That was not a great pit stop, but okay. Ethan Reed into the pits, as Abe Santamor will be coming out of the pits in a second. Now, back to the battle with Julian Metzner and yet again Dave Van Eyck. Now they've got a little bit more traffic to get past. Behind them they've got Bastel Neckers in the BMW, and in front of Bastel Neckers is a GT4 and also Snacker, who's a lapped GT3 car. So a lot of things to unpack here. As Julian Metzner not going to be giving up on this battle at all. The final 16 minutes of this race to go. As Ethan Reed, when will he be popping out of the pits? As he's losing a lot of positions. And there goes Ethan Reed out of the pits. And ahead of Oscar Pratt as well. Julian Metzner. Last lap, not much quicker than Dave Van Eyck. Still just 3/10 away. And wait a minute. How did Claudio Passo... how was he able to jump Abe Santamor? Well, actually, look at the pits. Look at the pit time. It's Abe, 5 seconds more in the pits compared to Claudio Passo. But I think Abe switched the tires, and he's going to have a huge advantage over Claudio Passo here in the final stages of the race. Kleb Kabubelin side by side with Dries Verhulst, or was side by side with Dries Verhulst, now just behind him. And it is all kicking off after these pits. Behind them, Eric Giselle, who did pit for damage as well. And Eric Giselle is not going to be hanging around for too long. He knows where he should be, and he's going to go for the inside. And it looks like he kind of scared Gleb Kabubulin. They still do come together. And Gleb Kabubulin, well, losing that position, but doesn't look like he sustained too much damage to his McLaren, and so didn't Eric Giselle to his Porsche. As now Eric's next prey, next thing to hunt is Dries Verhaal. As round the outside he goes, and is it gonna be a position done here as he tries to go for the inside? A very ambitious overtake to come along here, kind of forcing Dries Verhaal off the track, but up into third place, and that might give the position to Gleb Kabubulin as well. As in the background, in the foreground, Abe Santoma still struggling to get past Claudio Passo for the lead, and Abe Santoma might be a little bit of a worried man, as he's going to have to get past quite a bunch of GT4s. No, he's not. They've got no GT4s ahead of them for about 15 kilometers. I don't know. I'm just predicting. Yeah, Abe not winning, I know. Abe, unfortunately, because of all of the shenanigans that happened with the GT4s, having to pit for what is more time, probably with the well, as we're talking about it, he's just gone for the lead. Claudio Passo going for the dive, and unfortunately for him, that is not going to be one move that is going to be done in that space. But yeah, Abe got 20 at last lap, at lap 5, at lap 15. Well, we'll check that after the race if we have time, because right now there's still people fighting live on the track. It's Dries Verhulst trying to hold off fourth place from Gleb Kabubulin, and in the GT4 front we've got Nikolai Polakov fighting with Marco Bastelet. It looks like they calmed down a little bit. Remember, Nikolai Polakov going for the fresh tires. So did Abe. I think Abe pitted for fresh tires, which is the reason that he had the tremendous amount of grip over over Claudio Passo. And Gleb Kabubulin absolutely torpedoing into the side of Dries Verhulst, but looks like he did give the position back, or he is giving the position back, since he doesn't feel like he passed him in the proper manner, which is a really nice thing to do. Yeah, now he's got him indeed. And looks like we missed the battle for Marco and Nikolai Polakov. And Nikolai Polakov now up into P1 with what seems to be the fresher rubber and the faster car. That's the last 11 minutes to go. Should be quite easy for him, unless he gets taken out by some GT3s. Ethan better not choke. You know what? Ethan has had a very up and down race, but actually it's been pretty good in terms of recovery drive, so hats off to him for all that he did. What happened to Claudio Passo? Looks like he collided with a GT4, made him spin out. We can try and check the instant replay. Yes, he's got a GT4 ahead of him off Louis de Witt. Going for the lap. Claudio Passo. Oh, it's just unfortunate. Just not enough space there at all around the outside. But yeah, Ethan has had a very interesting race so far. By getting taken out, and he was last, dead last, nearly dead last in this race. Now running in 11th place, comfortably in 11th place, though obviously out of like 16. Still good. There's Bastelneckers now in the battle with Dave Van Eyck, as Dave Van Eyck behind Julian Metzner, as Ethan Reed colliding with Marco Basile, one of the contenders for the lead in the GT4 class, but now Ethan Reed getting past the leader of the GT4s, the Nikolai Polakov in the Maserati. Back to the fight with Bastelneckers and Dave Van Eyck. Dave Van Eyck, did he change tires? I don't know. Honestly, there's no way of knowing. As Bastelneckers now on the inside, he's got the GT4. They tried to go 3 wide. And if the GT4 was not there, which completely is not his fault, he would have probably had the position. As Bastelneckers now ahead of Dave Van Eyck, as Dave Van Eyck made a big mistake in the second part of the first sector bit. And now up into 9th place for Bastelneckers. As Eduardo Perez in the Lamborghini fighting with Oscar Pratt. And that is Marco Basile right behind them as well. Giving them some hard time. Obviously, not on purpose. And Eduardo Perez is running with an extra 27 kilos against the 19 that the Ferrari has of Oscar Pratt. So, very different ballasts, but it is in order to balance out the grid. So, it should be a little bit more balanced. As we don't see... for example, BMW dominating anymore, or even Abe. He wasn't exactly dominant, but, it's not because of the car that he is the way that he is. There's Eduardo Perez going for the move on Oscar Pratt round the outside into the final corner. Oscar Pratt has a GT4 in front of him, and he can play this strategically. He can try and box Eduardo Perez in over here. If he goes to the inside, Eduardo Perez will have nothing to do but to stay behind. But it looks like there's just enough time for Eduardo Perez to get past Nikolai Polakov, who goes sideways. And Eduardo Perez barging doors with Oscar Pratt and making the move. Oscar Pratt now on the inside, also trying to make the comeback, the switchback. But Eduardo Perez still on the inside and still able to go back up into P12, and a comfortable P12 as Eric Giselle up into P2 yet again, the place that he was running before he had the hit with Bjorn Rian in the Ginetta, as Abe sets another fastest lap of the race of 53.705. And if you are enjoying this race so far, do drop a like and subscribe, since it's a free way to support us, as Eduardo Perez and Oscar Pratt Whoa, coming together there. And who was that? Trying to not get themselves killed. That looks like Henry Marr. I was going to ask if this was BOP or not. Yeah, it is BOP. So it's a little bit more balanced. Obviously not perfect within Kunos standards, which not high standards. And oh, another collision, and they collect Marco Basilet as my voice decides to completely cut out. And Marco Basilet, who was so good in this race, running in P2. Is he going to get the car started back up? Tom Young, is he going to get P2? It is the Camaro versus Camaro. And that is so unfortunate for Marco Basilet, who had nothing to do with that incident. Absolutely nothing. And just gets collected as a result of Eduardo Perez and Oscar Pratt coming together. And oh boy, is he not going to be happy about that, as now he's got damage on his car. Tom Young not too far away. 5 seconds is the gap. As Abe now also maneuvers around Marco Basilet. You know, thankfully it wasn't like a battle for first place in the GT4 that time. If it was, it would have been absolutely shambles. Absolute shambles. Now, in the background, Bjorn Rehn, Declan Bowler, and Samuel Paterni having their own little battle for 22nd place. Behind them is Roberto Santoro, also trying to lap these GT4s. And he's got one hell of a job ahead of him, as he has to try and lap them without getting himself killed and getting them killed, and without disrupting their battle as well. As Paterni, because of that, able to get ahead of Declan Bowler. And Declan Bowler now going to be under humongous pressure from Bjorn Rehn round the outside. Bjorn Rehn not able to keep that position. Not able to keep his nose in. Yeah, it's Nikolay Polakov now. Oh, okay. I thought he was fighting with somebody. I was about to say, like, who could he possibly be fighting with? But Bjorn Rehn 4/10 away from Declan Bowler, as the final lap is going to start soon for the GT4s. Actually, I'm pretty sure this is the final lap. We'll see. There's Bjorn Rehn now, hoping that his straight line speed does not let him down. But you know what? If you want straight line speed, you should pick the McLaren. The McLaren GT4 car is absolutely horrible to try and get past, as you know, it is horrible in the corners, but damn is it quick in a straight line. And whenever you get onto a main straight, you just can't get past them, and they fly by you at about 10 extra kilometers. There's Declan Bowler now getting ahead of Samuel Paterni. Samuel Paterni giving a little bit of a smoosh in the rear bumper as they head through the first sector. And Samuel Paterni now not going to be too happy, as Bjorn Rehn now also on his inside. And Paterni having a horrible sequence of corners, but not letting that place by, as there comes Telnekes. I think that's Telnekas. Yeah, Telnekas in the BMW. Trying to lap this bunch up. Declan Bowler has dispatched them and flown away. As now it's the final lap. And what did Bjorn Rian do? Oh, he straightens out Samuel Paterni. Great. That was not great. That was definitely not a safe overtake, as one would say, one would quote. And is it the final lap for the final lap for these guys? I'm not sure it is. I think unless Abe passed them, they still have one more lap. As what's happened to Donskir? Why did he just let Declan Bowler through? Did he run out of fuel? Is there any way to see how much fuel he has? Oh my god, it really does seem like he's ran out of fuel. And I think it is the classic of calculating the fuel for the GT3s, the GT3 pace, in the GT4 fuel consumption. And now, I don't know what's happened. Yeah, he's just lost a heaps amount of pace. And it looks like he's just running on the last drip of fuel. As Claudio Passo, did he run out of fuel as well? And it looks like he did. Claudio Passo stopping on the edge of the track as Abe Santama takes the win. And Eric Giselle will be taking P2. Did Oscar Pratt run out of fuel? No, he's just decided to do a little bit of a spin. Eric Giselle finishes in P2, the runners-up spot. What could have been? We'll never find out. Charlie Kent, a great race for him. He's going to be finishing in third place on the final podium space, as Dries Verhulst not able to catch him in the closing stages of this race. Good stuff by Charlie Kent, and Dries Verhulst in fourth place. Nikolay Polakov obviously finishes in first place. A great battle for him, between him and Marco Basile, who does finish in second, even with that huge crash with Eduardo Perez and Oscar Pratt and Tom Young on the final podium space in the Camaro. It is a double Camaro podium, but it is the Maserati that wins the race. And a very diverse top three as well, with Abe Santama in the McLaren winning the race, Eric Giselle in the Porsche in second, and Charlie Kent in third with the Audi. Still the Metacars, but a little bit less of just 3 McLarens or 3 BMWs or 3 Porsches or 3 Ferraris. You get the idea. When it's just absolute awful sauce. And yeah. But that is it for the race. You can spectate. Actually, is Ethan Reed doing donuts? No, he's not. Of course he's not. Yeah. That could have been my podium if I didn't sleep through the start. Well, Marvin. Yeah. Yeah. You could have been up there, but you did sleep through it. But nevertheless, thank you so much to everybody who watched the race. If you did enjoy it, as I said previously, do leave a like and subscribe and share the stream with everybody that you know, everybody who you want to see you. What? Everybody who wants to see you race. There we go. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. And we'll be back tomorrow for the opening race of Season 11 with the prize pool. And for Sunday, in the 8 hours of Le Mans in iRacing. But until next time.